CEO and Director of Tracy Earth Projects. And we have been working really hard this past 8 months, partnering with both Delta Disposal and the City of Tracy to get out the best information about SB 1383 so everybody can make really good choices on how we're supposed to capture more of our food waste. So I just want to say thank you to Annalisa and Melissa and Connie for joining us today, but most importantly, I want to thank all of you for coming, that you too take this information back and share with your family, your friends, your coworkers on how important it is that we now understand we are no longer a 1-bin system, we're a 3-bin system. So we recycle, we have food waste, and then you have landfill. So with that, I'm just going to go through really quick some introduction on SB 1383. One, I just want to give our mission statement for Tracy Earth Project. So like I said, we're a nonprofit organization. We're all volunteers with a very strong passion to preserve our natural resources by supporting a very healthy culture of environmental, social, and economic sustainability. They all intersect, and we all need to make sure that we keep them all included in the conversation. So going back a little history, it was in 2016 that SB 1383 actually was passed, and there was a timeline for all of the rollout. So, and it's all based on how to decrease our waste to 2014 levels by the target dates. So we have a target date for reduction in our organic waste by 50% by 2020. And then right now we're in this second target of where we're trying to use both food waste and recycling. But food waste, the most important, because we're trying to reduce methane by 2025. That one is a really, really kind of aggressive goal. And we already know that, 2025 is only 4 months away. And we're still trying to get everybody on board. So this is why we all really have to pay attention and really try and share what we learn and really all do our part. And so, and then the last is, how do we make sure we're capturing more edible food and using more food recovery that goes into food programs? And that we're supposed to actually try and have a 20% reduction of food waste by 2025. So going on, this just shows, right now, food actually is one of our largest contributors to our landfill. 5 million tons of food is actually disposed of every year in our landfill. And how do we try and decrease that number? So you can see where we're in with glass and electronics and metal. Food is much higher. And we can actually do something about that. So going on, next slide, we're going to show a little bit of the time, or the pie here. So just some good trivia points here. We disposed 24 million tons of organic waste. 1 in 5 Californians are food insecure. This one's really important, because if you really think about it, 1 in 5 don't go to bed at night with a full tummy. That to me is just, as a registered nurse, knowing that that is just really a travesty for our country to have really hungry children going to bed. California throws away more than 6 million tons of food waste every year, and California disposed of approximately 27 million tons of organic waste in just 2017. So I know these slides are all off of CalRecycle. If you ever have a moment to go on to their website, they have a wealth of information. They also have an enormous amount of grants that are available, and we'll talk about that at the very end of the presentation, because there is money available for small businesses, there's money available for cities, and there's money available to actually help this whole process. Okay, moving on to the next slide. This is the key implementation timeline. Like we said, 2016, I think I said 2014, but it's 2016 was the adoption of SB 1383, and then all of the regulations all got, the logistics, it took a couple years to get all the logistics in order, and now we have the timeline where in 2020, we rolled out residential 21 or 20? 20, I believe it was 21. 21, we actually rolled out more for the residential, but you all got your green bins here in Tracy. And then now we're into the next cycle where it's commercial. So commercial is your schools, your restaurants, your small businesses and large businesses, and your school district. So that one is really interesting. So, and then, this is where it's now going to be no longer just education, it's going to be enforced. So there are regulations coming down the road where there will be audits and there'll actually be more local and state enforcement that we all try and make sure that you understand that this is not just a learning opportunity here, it's actually a law. So we all need to understand the importance of this. Okay, then moving on. So there's 2 tiers. January of 2022, in the commercial industry, these were your food industries that were actually rolled into this new regulation. Supermarkets, grocery stores, food service providers, food distributors, and wholesale food. So there should be what they're asking of these distributors is to make sure if there's food at the end of your shift, at the end of the day, that's edible, viable, consumable food products, they should actually be going to a food recovery program. And we know that there are some opportunity here. We have some like TCC or Interfaith, they do get donations from markets that do donate, but honestly, all of our supermarkets and food distributors need to know they all have to join some type of food recovery program if there is edible food available. Remember those 1 in 5 children? This is where a lot of this can come from. Kids in our own school district, they can get bags of free food to go home with them. And our homeless. There's no reason why we couldn't be doing distributions out to our homeless too. And then we have this next tier. Now we're going into where you have restaurants, venues. So this would be like our downtown farmers market and our downtown block parties where you have people consuming food products that we should be sorting within those venues to make sure we're capturing our waste correctly. Remember, it's not a 1-bin system anymore. We should be saying 3 bins. Wherever you see a 1 bin, we need to replace those with 3 bins. And I know it's a cost issue, that's why there's grant money out there. So anyways, going on, this is really more the legality of the jurisdictions involved. So right now, our jurisdiction is the city of Tracy, and our food recovery program either goes through the city or they would partner with the Department of Health. And that would be where they'd have to sit down and have a discussion on how to waive that responsibility to the Department of Health. So yes, so if you have questions, please hold them for the end of this presentation, and we'll be able to have an open Q&A. Don't think we have any more slides after this. So yeah, this is what we want to do today is to try and really provide more information to our local businesses to know what the compliance regulations are. Food needs to be separated, food needs to be sorted. So if you have edibles, there needs to be some way of redistributing. If you have edible food that can go back out into redistribution, and that we are recycling. We're talking a lot about the food waste, but the recycling program started decades ago, and we're still not doing our best in recycling all of our plastics and our glassware and cans and whatnot. So, and there's lots of different ways to really, make it work for you, cost savings wise, and that's why this is really important, so we can see how are all the fee structures for trying to sort out our food waste commercially. How is it that we can maybe combine with other businesses to meet the cost? And how do we make sure we're delivering those foods that are edible to where they're needed to go? So I am really excited to have, our panel here, and they're going to give more in-depth presentation of what their role is in this mandate and how we can all work together to really make Tracy compliant, but also a much more healthy and livable city that will be able to meet the need for our hungry children and the need to make sure we are being waste conscious, that we're smart sorters. That's the goal, smart sorters. So with that, I'm going to let Annalisa and Melissa share their presentation on their role as our as Delta Disposal Waste Management. They're our haulers. So I thank you guys for coming, and I'll let you guys take it from here. You couldn't get Ben down.
What, you mind if I stand the
You can
up
go
there?
ahead and do whatever you like. Absolutely. The floor is yours.
I may not use this. Can everybody hear me if I don't use this? I'm good?
Yeah.
So hi everybody, good evening. My name is Annalisa Repetto, and right there is Melissa Robles. We are with Tracy Delta Disposal. You're a local waste hauler here in Tracy. And tonight we're going to be giving you a little overview and some guidelines regarding 1383 and at the commercial and residential level.
Is this the right slide?
Yeah, should I just?
Yeah.
As we all know, California is expecting or experiencing the effects of the climate crisis with hotter summers and record-breaking temperatures. This has led scientists to believe that greenhouse gases released by human activity like landfilling food and yard waste can lead to climate change. This piece of legislation was created and implemented statewide to help reduce the amount of greenhouse gases produced by landfills. I apologize, it's really tiny. It doesn't look like this on my computer. But Senate Bill 1383, I know Dottie touched on it a little bit. It was signed into law in late September of 2016 with the hopes of reducing methane emissions in our landfills. Methane is a super pollutant, and it is 84 times more potent than carbon dioxide. And like I said before, organic waste, such as food scraps and yard trimmings, have a negative impact on our landfills. And our landfills alone emit 20% of the state's methane alone. And reducing these climate super pollutants will have a lasting positive effect on our landfills. By definition, Senate Bill 1383 requires jurisdictions, residential households, and commercial businesses to show support to support statewide organic waste disposal reduction targets. So again, Dottie touched on this a little bit. The bill outlines the mandated statewide goal of reducing organic waste disposal 75% by the year 2025, and additionally rescuing at least 20% of edible food that's currently going to the landfill by the same year, 2025. As you all know, residents and businesses across the state are expected to dispose of their waste and unwanted materials in our 3 specific bins. As you all know, your gray bin is your waste bin, the blue bin is your recycle bin, and your green bin is the organics bin. And these 3 colors were actually written into the legislation, so wherever you go within the state of California, these 3 bins will be uniform. So there's no confusion. And we get a lot of questions, especially with the third bin, about really, really interesting stuff that, like, what goes in each bin. And so I put the more common questions and things that are a little bit more confusing that we've noticed to residents here in Tracy at the top. So some of the accepted items that go in your gray bin are things like plastic bags or compostable biodegradable bags, as well as bagged pet waste, and things like your rugs, dishes, and diapers. And obviously things like your recyclables and your organic waste do not go in your gray bin. Moving on to your blue recycle bin, some items that are accepted in the blue recycle bin are things like junk mail, newspaper, clean cardboard that's not coated or greasy, and glass and plastic bottles. And on the other hand, some items that are not accepted in your blue bin are things like plastic items labeled as compostable. This is only because the machinery we have at our facility is unable to process it. It jams the machinery and it just throws everything for a loop. As well as things like dirty or soiled cardboard do not go in your recycle bin, and styrofoam or rocks, amongst other things.
Styrofoam, you guys don't use styrofoam. Is that common, the styrofoam? Styrofoam.
Is it common that people put it in the
Yeah.
recycle bin? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, to get a lot of action going.
Okay, I learned that, so guilty.
I mean, I guess that would make sense in my brain too, to put it in the mix. Yeah, I understand. Finally, your green organics bin, obviously some accepted items are things like your yard trimmings, so grass clippings, food scraps, leaves and branches up to a certain dimension, as well as your food, soiled paper, and cardboard products. And on the other hand, things like plastic bags, compostable or biodegradable labeled bags do not go in your green organics bin. These are actually not recognized as an organic material by the state of California. They're full of, I don't know the type of other plastics, but we can't process it, and they don't identify as traditional plastics. As well as your pet waste and palm fronds. We get a lot of questions about where the pet waste goes. This is just a little overview of the journey your organic material takes once it is picked up from your home or business and delivered to our facility. Your yard trimmings and food scraps are composted in an open wood row, which is that center photo right there, that big mound. It takes a couple weeks for the process to complete, and the end product is reintroduced back into our community in landscapes, fields, and gardens. And we also sell it, if anybody's interested. These are a few commercial compliance regulations when it comes to 1383. Organic service is required by all businesses here in the city of Tracy, and they are also required to display labels for recycling and organics next to any and all waste containers they have. As well as recycling service is required for all businesses that generate 4 cubic yards or more of waste per week. To sign up or to discuss service options when it comes to bin sizes and other things, commercial customers are asked to contact the city of Tracy. And I have their phone number up there, but you can't see it. And separating your garbage, recyclables, and waste materials is really only the beginning. There's a lot of other ways to get involved and to be responsible, a responsible recycler, responsible shopper. Some ways to ensure your recycling responsibly includes not bagging your recyclables, as well as making sure your items are empty, clean, and dry when you put them in your bin. And on the organics end of things, also not bagging your organic material, as well as wrapping your food waste in paper or newspaper, makes a big difference. And I've also listed some other little tips that will help your bin stay relatively cleaner. I know a lot of people complain about the odor of the bins, and I know that if you layer your food waste with yard trimmings, it will reduce the smell significantly, as well as sprinkling the inside of your food with baking soda or peppermint oil will also help significantly too. And this is just an example of how important it really is to be responsible and to recycle efficiently and correctly. As you can see, improper disposal of items can contaminate our compost loads, and it's just, we don't want microplastics in the compost, because it ends up going into fields and landscapes, and if food is grown on said landscape, we're ingesting microplastics. So it's really important to correctly dispose of your waste. And as your hauler, we have started implementing the Oops tab. This is left on a customer's bin that can't be correct or cannot be serviced because of incorrect disposal or contamination. Each tag comes with a brief explanation as to why their bin wasn't serviced, as well as information to educate the customer moving forward, so they don't make that mistake again. And I want to thank you all for taking time to be here and to better learn how we're implementing this bill. I know we're all learning together, and we'll get there. And thank you, Dottie, for putting this together. It's always nice to keep you all informed on what we're doing in the community.
Do you want to take questions that, at each end of, or you want to wait to the very, very end?
Okay. Because I only have answers to some questions. All right, my turn. I'm assuming you can all hear me because I'm typically loud, as I've been told many times. So good evening. My name is Connie Lopes, and I oversee the City of Tracy Solid Waste and Recycling Division. Thank you all for attending, and thank you to the Tracy Earth Project for inviting me to be a speaker tonight. In order to help promote the proper disposal of food waste, the City of Tracy is offering a free kitchen food waste container to all residents who receive utility services through the city. It's limited to one per residence and can be picked up at Boyd Service Center, located at 520 Tracy Boulevard during business hours. The containers were paid for through a Cal Recycle grant fund and are being provided to encourage proper disposal of food waste into the organics container and not the garbage. The contents of the container can then be emptied into the outside organics container, and it's dishwasher safe. Some locations to place the container are on kitchen countertops, under the sink, and even in the refrigerator. A number of items can be placed in the container, such as food scraps from both meal prep and after meals, paper plates, napkins, and paper towels. We receive calls, as Tracy Disposal does, about the disposal of food attracting pests and causing odors if it's not bagged. We put together some tips to address the concerns. Food waste can be placed in paper bags or wrapped in paper towels, napkins, or newspaper. Mixing yard waste and food waste in the organics container minimizes any odor from food waste. Food scraps can be placed in a container in the refrigerator or freezer during the week and then emptied into the outside organics container the night prior or morning of waste pickup. Baking soda can be added to the inside or outside container to absorb odors. Spraying the contents of the organics container with vinegar will repel pests, reduce odors, and is environmentally friendly. Rinsing out the curbside organics container will eliminate any buildup of material. This should be done in landscaped areas and not in a location where the water would end up in the storm drains. Keeping the lid of not only the organics container, but all containers closed will prevent pests from entering and multiplying. These tips were mailed out in utility bills, is included in the Solid Waste and Recycling magazine that was mailed to all residents last December, and is also included inside the kitchen food waste containers when they are picked up. I want to provide some information on California Senate Bill 1383 that's specific to businesses and where the requirements come from. Cal Recycle considers businesses to include commercial and industrial businesses and multifamily complexes with 5 or more units. There are 3 main state bills that outline requirements. Assembly Bill 341, known as MCR, pertains to business recycling requirements. All businesses and multifamily complexes complexes with 5 or more units that produce 4 cubic yards or more of total waste, which includes garbage, recycling, and organics combined, are required to have a recycling program in place. Assembly Bill 1826, known as MORE, pertains to the disposal of organic waste for businesses and multifamily complexes with 5 or more units that produce 2 cubic yards or more of total waste. Organic waste is defined by state law to include food waste, green waste, landscape and pruning waste, non-hazardous wood waste, and food soiled paper waste that is mixed with food waste. Under AB 1826, multifamily complexes are not required to arrange for services for food waste. Senate Bill 1383 incorporates all the requirements of AB 1826 with additional requirements, one of which is all waste generators are required to have organic waste services, including food waste, regardless of how much waste they generate. SB 1383 includes jurisdiction requirements for collection and recycling of organic waste, procurement requirements, edible food recovery, capacity planning, enforcement, record keeping, issuing waivers and exemptions, and reporting. Links to CalRecycle for information on all of these bills is available on our website. The city is currently focused on meeting the following requirements of SB 1383. Jurisdictions were required to develop and implement SB 1383 by January 1st, 2022. In recognition of challenges due to the COVID-19 pandemic, Governor Newsom signed Senate Bill 619, which allowed jurisdictions to file an intent to comply, which waives civil penalties. The City of Tracy's notice of intent to comply was approved by City Council in February 2022, and we have been working with CalRecycle's jurisdiction and agency compliance and enforcement branch on the progress of implementation. CalRecycle considers a jurisdiction to be fully compliant once 100% of all waste generators have organic waste disposal programs. CalRecycle, not jurisdictions, have an enforcement authority over school districts and housing authorities. However, we do partner with CalRecycle to provide information to those entities. Educational materials were sent to all customers through flyers and brochures leading up to SB 1383 going into effect. Residents in single-family homes and some multi-family complexes have 3 container programs, which include individual containers for garbage, recycling, and organics. Businesses have to sign up for each service individually. When it comes to businesses and properties with multiple tenants, it's on a case-by-case basis as to who is responsible for ordering the containers to meet compliance. This should be discussed and agreed upon between the property manager or owner and the tenants. To sign up or change services, customers need to contact the city's finance department. The first letter of non-compliance was mailed out to businesses in September 2023. Out of 861 businesses and multifamily complexes identified, 385 non-compliance letters were mailed out. Letters regarding non-compliance for organics were sent to 224 businesses and 31 multifamily complexes. Letters regarding non-compliance for recycling were sent to 7 businesses and 2 multifamily complexes. And letters regarding non-compliance for both organics and recycling were sent to 90 businesses and 31 multifamily complexes. 76 requests for a waiver or exemption were received. The second letter for non-compliance was sent to businesses last month. Out of 1,301 non-residential customers identified, 566 non-compliance letters were mailed out. Letters regarding non-compliance for organics were sent to 448 businesses and 29 multifamily complexes. Letters regarding non-compliance for recycling were sent to 15 businesses and 2 multifamily complexes. And letters regarding non-compliance for both organics and recycling were sent to 60 businesses and 12 multifamily complexes. So far, 193 requests for a waiver or exemption have been received. The letters contained information on what is required, how to sign up for services, and provided information on guidelines to apply for a waiver and or exemption. The waiver and exemption forms are available on the city's website. The city is also in the process of working with the county's environmental health department to implement an edible food recovery program. Identified businesses that fall within this requirement were initially provided to the Environmental Health Department in August 2022 and updated in July 2024. In addition, the Solid Waste and Recycling Division is proposing the addition of another position to focus solely on enforcement. This person would handle solid waste and recycling violations and provide individualized assistance to all customers as needed in order to meet compliance of federal, state, county, and local ordinances and mandates. Outside of recycling and properly disposing of organic waste, there are some ways to keep in mind that can help the environment. Meal prepping will not only save money, but will reduce uneaten food that is thrown out. The use of cloth and reusable bags will prevent the use of plastic bags. Reusable water bottles not only keep beverages hot or cold, but will reduce the use of plastic bottles. Reselling or donating unwanted items will keep usable items out of landfills. One person's trash is another person's treasure. A solid waste and recycling magazine was mailed out in December of last year and provides information about recycling programs, events, and other useful information. Another magazine will be mailed out at the end of this year. There are several solid waste and recycling events occurring in the next few months. The West Side Garage Sale is coming up on September 28th. All residents that live on the west side of Tracy Boulevard can fill out a registration form, which is available on our website, to be included on the listed map of participants. The deadline to register is September 13th. We are sponsoring a compost giveaway on October 4th and 5th. Residents are able to pick up free compost from the Tracy Material Recovery Facility and are limited to 1 cubic yard per resident. Our next electronic waste disposal event is on October 12th. This event occurs on a quarterly basis. They occur on the second Saturday in January, April, July, and October annually. The final document shredding event for this year is on November 2nd. Residents can bring up to 3 paper boxes or equivalent to shred on site at no charge. The next shredding event won't be until April of next year. The annual leaf pickup program begins on November 4th and goes through January 31st. Residents are asked to fill up their organics containers first. Leaves, and only leaves, that don't fit in the container may be placed in a pile in the street for weekly pickup on the regular waste collection day. Please leave gutters clear for water to flow. Holiday tree pickup will occur from December 26th through January 10th. Residents can place their tree at the curbside for pickup on their weekly waste pickup day. In addition to the flyers and information mailed out to residents and businesses, there are other ways of finding information on our programs. The main solid waste and recycling website is the 3Ws.recycleinsidethetriangle.com. The city also has accounts on Facebook, Instagram, and X, formerly Twitter. The website for Cal Recycle is also provided at the bottom for detailed information on state programs and mandates. I want to thank all of you again for attending.
We currently do offer steaming service. I believe it's $15. If you call the office, they can schedule you. But yeah, we do offer that service. We just don't.
Did people know? Because none of my neighbors knew about it. How do you promote that?
I can include it in the solid waste and recycling magazine for this coming year.
I think it's a great idea.
We get that question a lot, and I feel like a lot of customers that do call don't even realize it is a service. It might have been one of those things where we didn't even really think about it until people started calling and asking. So, but it's definitely possible.
And it's $15 per bin.
I'm not 100%, but I think it's between 12 or 15. I believe.
Per bin, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
Per bin, yes.
Right now, I'm sending my husband to just
Yeah.
No, but I think if people knew about it, you will probably have a home run. They just need to know, because a lot of people complain about it.
Especially in the summer months,
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
it's more
Yeah.
necessary.
Good to know, you guys doing that.
So I have a couple questions. The first one is, can you clarify which plastics are recyclable and which ones are not? As far as I know, it's only the numbers 1 and 2 that are in the little triangle, but I'm really hoping that it's gotten better and you guys can accept more for recycling. Can you clarify?
Yeah, so like milk jugs, stuff like that, your detergent bottles, plastic, buckets.
But you don't know the little numbers?
It's either 1 through 5 or 1
Yeah, it's
through
1
7.
through 5. It's
Oh,
1 through 5.
1 through 5. You guys can take anything that's numbers 1 through 5.
It depends on the product, that's why I don't wanna say every single thing that falls within 1 through 5.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
That's why I was just giving you some, like, more common items.
Yeah.
Because yeah, technically, everything from 1 through 7 is technically recyclable.
Right.
But that doesn't mean it's part of the program.
Right, gotcha. I'm gonna just put in everything 1 through 5.
That might be a good,
Yeah,
Yeah.
just because I
Good
don't
guess.
know for sure.
So I saw an in-depth, news article on a video one from CBS News just last week about exactly that issue, about recycling, and it was about Texas. Did any of you see that? Houston in particular? It was an ExxonMobil, it was quite interesting.
What was it? What show was it?
It's CBS News.
Oh, okay.
It was like a 15-minute or 20-minute, I mean, they had all the commercials in between, and it was actually discouraging.
it's very sad how little actually is being done.
Yes,
And it varies state by state, right? Some states are more engaged than others.
And then also jurisdictions, because it depends like what, your hauler can process and how the facility is set up.
Right.
So if you go to Stockton, that doesn't mean that they accept everything that Tracy does or Michigan does, it depends on the
We're
hauler.
lucky that you guys are very proactive and doing so much, to promote the recycling, so kudos to you guys.
Yeah, so another thing that we didn't mention, I think, but, part of my job is to actually go out and do audits. Make sure the residents and the commercial, generators are all, separating everything correctly and the correct items are being placed in each bin. And then, as, I also leave like an oops tag to just verify on what was a mistake, so that's another way we're trying to get out there.
Do you get another oops, as you do your recon?
When I go out, I'd say like, I do about a quarter of what I audit, would probably get an oops tag, yeah. And it might just be like one thing, I'll still leave an oops tag because, there'll be like one water bottle in
Is that
organic,
residential
but
and business?
I do both, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good. My other questions, I'm wondering if you are tracking how many non-residential organizations, companies have already signed up for the services? Can you tell me about how many have already signed up and if we're like making progress?
So that was in part of my presentation as far as how many non-compliance letters were sent out.
Yeah, I heard the non-compliance, I'm
Yeah.
just trying, I guess I couldn't do the math fast enough. So I'm
No problem.
wondering if how many are signed up and if that's more than like a year ago and we're making progress.
I'd say it is more than a year ago, especially with the exemptions and waivers that have been turned in since the second letter went out. We identified 1,301
Yeah.
businesses and multifamily complexes that fall within, the thresholds of both recycling and organics, needing
Okay,
to
yeah.
have both services. So it's tracking each one separately, but
Yeah.
figuring out who's signing up for what or who's asking for, which waiver and all of that.
Right, gotcha.
But
And I'm also wondering if it's possible at all to streamline that process, like with the residential, we just got the new bins and it was done.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering if that's possible for businesses and.
businesses are a little different, because some businesses recycle their own materials or they have backhauling or self-hauling.
So they don't necessarily need to sign up for the services if they already have it provided a different way.
That's what the waivers are for.
That's what the waivers are for.
Okay.
So, whether they have other services, whether it's, like for food waste, a lot of businesses are industrial, or people will take in their own food and eat it and take whatever is left over home, or,
Yeah.
so they don't have food waste. So,
Right.
there's a de minimis part of the waiver as well. If they do on-site processing, if they do backhauls, there's a variety of different options that they can choose from for both organic waivers and, recycling exemptions.
Great. And then my last question is on the disposal side. Are we tracking the amount of food waste and that's moving from landfills to the organics? Are we seeing an improvement in that? And are we tracking that all? I heard that, the state wants a certain percentage and stuff, so I'm assuming somehow we have to contribute to that percentage, and I'm wondering if we're tracking that.
I don't have any like numbers for you, but yeah, every time a load or like a truck comes in, they get weight tags, so all of that is tracked.
Okay, so it's checked. And in your opinion then, does it seem to be improving? Like we're getting
Yeah.
less food waste in the landfill?
Yes.
Okay, good, that's good news.
I feel like the questions that we get from our customer service department are getting better as well. It's like they aren't so like, I don't know, like basic. I know it's not a great way to put it, but I feel like they're more item specific now, so people are understanding more
Yeah.
what goes where,
Yeah.
because it's so repetitive, So I feel like it definitely is getting better from that point,
Good,
at least, I think.
good. You're getting more compost out there?
Yeah.
Good, okay, thank you. I think that's all my questions.
So I have a question, because, for TEP, we've been, walking downtown and talking with businesses and trying to understand where we are in the process. And we're not experts, we're trying to, to decipher through all of the information. Could you just walk through, let's say a small business wants to come in and do their fair share and sort better. And they, right now they're currently using a 4-yard dumpster. So they may try to separate inside their building, but at the end of the day, everything's getting still put in that 4-yard dumpster. Could you kind of walk through, if they want to do better sorting, what would they need to do?
Be responsible.
So I'll take that one since I track it all. They can always reach out to me and ask for a site visit. I'm more than happy to go to any business and see how they're currently disposing of their items and what items they have to dispose. They can, if they do have a lot of food waste, then they can sign up for services. That obviously would reduce the amount of their waste going into the garbage. So depending on the adjustment of what goes where and how much they have of what material, they can downgrade the garbage size of their waste container and either add or increase their recyclable and or organics container.
So as far as, kind of a cost scheme there, is that gonna be more costly or is it more cost efficient if you're sorting better and have more bins?
It can be more cost efficient because if you have a smaller bin, obviously the cost goes down. And then depending on how it's sorted, you could have even smaller containers if you do all 3 yourself, the business.
Yeah.
So it just depends on what the need is, what the requirement is, and what we can provide as far as how much it would be and to be able to make sure that businesses get the containers that they need.
And other than the compliance, the non-compliance letters, are you sending any other communications out to businesses to help them understand the transition?
Right now, in the past, we've sent out different brochures with the information on all of the state mandates, the requirements, options that they have as far as how to sign up for services, how to change services, if they need a site audit, how to either contact Tracy Disposal or the city in order to do that. So information is always provided on our website as well for both residents and commercial businesses. So, the information is out there. We're not specifically sending it directly to just businesses, but all of even the non-compliance letters that we send out, I have information on there as far as what the mandate requires, how to sign up for the services, who to call, who you contact to take care of whatever, where the waivers are available, where the exemptions are available, where to send those into. So they do get the information, it's just whether or not they actually pay attention to it.
Yeah.
And to add to that, when I go out and do audits, I do take a flyer with me and leave it with the business. So,
Ms. Lopez, the we will be seeing at the back of restaurants, containers. Right now, I still see, styrofoam, yes.
Yeah.
That, and also, the organic waste product, they're not, I don't see an extra container
Yes.
for those. And sometimes it's very obvious, especially in downtown, either you park on behind restaurants and you don't see it. How do you guys address that?
So we're taking things one step at a time. The solid waste and recycling division for the city is me and one other person that takes care of 1,300 businesses and over 28,000 residents. Right? So I have all the time in the world to reach out to each individual customer, right?
And spend time with each one.
Yeah, exactly. So right now we're focusing just on seeing if they have the services for disposal, in general. Eventually, if I can get the extra position, I'm gonna have that person also focus on going out to the individual restaurants and businesses that produce food to then help them set up a program inside their establishment as well as outside.
Have the cities been working with the TEPA district to make sure they use the TEPA district as the example since it's so close? And in the past, you guys used to work together. I don't know if that has changed or not, but.
The dynamic between us has changed just a little bit, but they still reach out to us if they have questions with things, and we reach out to them if we have
Are you
different ideas
still
on
partners
things.
with them to just?
I
make
believe so,
sure?
yes.
Okay.
I haven't been included in the meetings, and I wasn't before either, but as far as I know, they're still have regular meetings with our parks and recreation.
I'm asking that
department.
because sometimes you need an example
Mhm.
for others to follow,
Right,
right? And
yes.
you don't have that sample, and downtown is the most visible sample
Mhm.
of getting getting started.
Yes.
So, yeah, okay, cool.
We'll get there.
Yeah. Connie, who do
Yeah.
we talk to advocate you getting that extra person, that extra position? Who makes that decision?
It's in the budget.
It's
It's a budget.
well-
On your March meeting, you
Yeah.
should know.
I'd say city manager or city council.
I would also say it's kind of hard on the Tracy website to figure out if you're a business, where to go. I've ended up in kind of a rabbit hole going around, and maybe if it could be made a little more clearer, you guys wouldn't have so many dreams on your time, but.
So it would depend on what your needs are as a business.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Right, and I mean, because all of our departments do something different, so depending on
But
what
it's
your
like
business
you,
needs or
you
what
know,
you're
if
looking
you
for.
are a business and have questions about, it's like, it's just, I'm still like going around trying to find a page that
Okay.
would speak to me as, as business.
I can absolutely suggest that to our IT department.
I know that's not your business. I would say that might help a little bit.
Yes.
So I have another question, as far as, the other, kind of arm of this is the food recovery. So if you, let's say I'm a small restaurant and I do have food, and I do wanna participate, what do I do?
So we are currently working with the County Environmental Health Department to set up that program. They will be running the program for all the jurisdictions within the county because they go to each establishment to do health inspections anyway. So they kind of have an idea of who produces food, who has leftover food and all of that. They wanted to establish a contract with the city of Lathrop first before they extended it out to the other jurisdictions. That was just completed within the last month. So I was emailed, I think about a week ago, their contract to review as well as the updated list for all the tier 1 and tier 2 businesses. And so again, we're getting there. And then once that is established and I know exactly what they need to do, then information for that will be sent out as well.
So what about schools? What can they do?
So schools are actually, I met with the school district. I met with them prior to COVID-19, the pandemic, and let them know what their requirements were as a school district. Again, as a jurisdiction, we can't enforce or issue citations to any school districts. That's through Cal Recycle to enforce compliance. However, based on the meeting that, actually a couple meetings that we had before, one of the meetings was actually going to a school, an elementary school, to see how their lunch services are provided, and at that time, they were providing breakfast at each individual classroom. They don't do that anymore. But they set up a program to where it's, what do they call it? Feed My Bucket, I think is what they called it. They started with the elementary schools because the younger that you get them established, then they're excited to go home and say, okay, this is how we do it, this is what goes in the containers and all of that. So they set up a program within the lunchroom for both breakfast and lunch, as far as different containers, different colored containers for food waste, for garbage, for a reusable table they have, for any food that somebody else can eat if they don't want it. So they have a great program set up.
Is this all elementaries, or is this just
As far as I know, through the Tracy School District. They set it up through all elementaries. They were hitting the middle schools, I think last year, and then this year they're gonna start rolling it out to the high schools. So that way, as the kids go up, they're already used to it. But they have it down as far as what they need to do and how to do it.
Yeah, so my first question is for Delta. It's something that we received online. So you guys, it seems, had a recycling plant which is currently closed. So what's the status of that? Are you guys gonna reopen it?
As of now, no, we're not planning on reopening. We'd have to recertify, so it'd be a process.
the
Yeah,
5X
there's a lot of,
centers?
there's a lot of certifications we have to go through just to even operate.
Yeah.
And with the pandemic, we closed down and it's been a little bit of a staffing issue as well, so we don't have a plan or we don't have a date set in place, but hopefully one day. I know we get a lot of questions about the buyback center, so I know that's really popular.
So I'll share some great news Cal Recycle has on their webpage, you can look this up. They just released, like $13 million in grants for, and I think our county's actually been awarded. They're now doing reverse buyback. And I believe it's either Sigma or CVS that are going to have these vending machines that you can now take your recyclables in and get paid, get paid. So it's glass, it's, plastics and cans, I think, at the moment. I don't think they're taking glass. But, I did see that San Joaquin was actually on the list. So kind of keep your ears open for that, because that will be another good incentive for kids to collect or whatever for, projects and whatnot. But, yeah, you get actually reimbursed. And there's some more grants on there that came out too. And one was about, making more recertification, money available. I believe it's for cities who wanna have more, buyback centers and stuff. So, yeah, so like I said, Cal Recycle's got a great page for recycle, grant money, and so, view it, it's great. There's doing something else with glass, and I can't recall. They're doing something else with, you know, trying to incentivize restaurants and whatnot for their glasswares. So look up that one too.
Yeah, I think I saw that, Donnie, and they were talking about like something with mobile redemption, or
Yes.
you can do something through your phone. I read that,
Yeah.
and it was really interesting,
Yeah,
so it would be
so-
cool.
I love it that there's, yeah, just coming up with more and more creative ways, you know, to incentivize people to really do a better job at recycling.
Yeah, so my second question is, I saw poison of oleander dirt not allowed in the compost or green bin, which I don't understand why.
I know with the oleanders, they're poisonous.
So, I mean, it's going into the compost, right?
Right, we don't want it in the compost.
Oh,
I don't even know where we would even suggest to
Dog
dispose
food.
that.
Yeah.
That goes
That's
in
also
the
in
trash.
so, I mean, we have dirt in the compost, so why not?
Is it the flour?
I just said oleander, yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's poisonous, so we don't want it to go in the compost because that's, redistributed for agriculture and all that, so you don't want that in the back in the soil. The same thing with your pet waste, has pathogens, all that kind of stuff.
So what about dirt?
Dirt, same thing, pathogens, not just that, but we don't want like an overabundance of dirt in our compost. Because,
It's less nutrient, I feel
Yeah.
like that way also.
Oh, okay.
cause, yeah.
Yeah, and my last question, okay. So, I saw AB 1826 that doesn't require multi-families to do the recycling, organic recycling. So is that the same for SB 1350 also?
No. So SB 1383 encompasses all of the requirements of AB 1826, but it does require all waste generators to have an organic waste disposal program.
Okay, so I ask this because one conversation that I've often had with people is most of these apartments don't have an organic program, so what's that process?
Working on it. So they received all the non-compliance letters, just like all the businesses did.
Yeah.
There's only so much two people can do, so we're getting there.
Do you guys have any educational programs for like the next generation to like set them up for environmental sustainability? For like schools or anything like that?
Do we have programs?
Yeah.
No, we don't have any, but even County Cycle, they have a lot of information.
And we're hoping
Yeah.
with this legislation too, that it's kind of gonna force everybody to be smarter and learn, like how Connie was talking about. I don't know who backed that program going through the schools, but that's really cool.
Yeah.
I feel like starting with the younger generation is the best, because then they'll just know off the top of their head, how to shop, what to buy, being smart in that aspect, as well as how to get rid of what they don't want and not be wasteful. But that's a great idea, I think, something that we could work on our end too.
Well, and some schools may have a program already set up, like I know some schools do recycling for fundraising, where they'll collect, usually plastic bottles, so that way they're not collecting glass bottles or anything, because they don't want the kids to get injured. But, I mean, the school that my girls went to had different fundraisers where we would turn in plastic bottles for the school to then turn in for funding. So, that might be a school by school specific thing as far as just environmental overall. But the food waste is done district-wide through the food services division or department within the school district.
So, as a follow-up question on that, so, in the schools, if you want to change the behavior of the food waste, because I think kids are kids, because the law is allowed, it's very hard to change the behavior, so who is gonna educate the kids, maybe the high school teachers, so maybe they just go to the milk and probably recycle place, so how do you change that? Do you have programs to educate them?
Yes, so the school district does have the program in place, so they educated or gave information to the food service workers within each of the schools, so they went through the training as far as, how to just not only distribute food, but what food could be reused, what could be sent out. They have a system set up, I think, through the McHenry House, to where some of their food gets turned over to the McHenry House. They also have yard duties or superintendents within the cafeterias during lunch times and during breakfast times. And they also have kids that go table to table, and that's where the Feed My Bucket comes in, because they were telling me that the kids love to go around saying, "Feed my bucket." And they take a bucket around for all the organic waste that the kids can throw in there. But there is monitoring at the different schools. That's why they started at the elementary schools and working their way up, because by the time elementary kids get to high school, they already have 6 years of experience behind them knowing how to sort everything. So it's, with organics, it's a learning process, just like it was when recycling first came about. Everybody complained about it, didn't know what to do, but eventually it's second nature to a lot of us. So eventually we'll get there with the organic and food waste as well.
I'm gonna tag on to, his thought there, as far as it's a behavior change. Because yes, it is definitely behavior change. And we are getting there. The high schools last year, so this last April for Earth Day, you know, we do with Tracy Earth Project, we sponsored with TUSD the Earth Day Challenge. And I will tell you, the high school kids were phenomenal in the project that they took on. Simple project, and it was all about behavior change. They took on the project of, yeah, we're not separating our trash and our food waste in our high school cafeterias. And those girls that put on that project went to, you know, the different high schools, monitored the cafeteria, took pictures, saw how kids were just using one bin, and then they went back to Dr. Paco, and they had a meeting with the superintendent, and they said, do we have a policy? Do we have something that's, you know, should be shared across the district to say, here's how we separate trash? And he said he didn't think so. And so the girls said, well, what about, you know, the bins? Do we have bins that will actually sort and change? And there was just the one bin system in the cafeterias. So this was just a Kimball that they took on this project. So for weeks, they put out a 3-bin system, and they had a monitor there, and they watched the kids and encouraged the kids to follow this new system. And by the end of a couple weeks, kids were really participating. So when you say, yes, it's a behavior change, the kids were teaching the kids the behavior change. And that was the most important learning opportunity, because if they see their peers doing it, then it must be okay. So yes, we do have a long ways to go, but those kids, that classroom won $1,000 because they were awarded with our Tracy Earth project. They had the winning project because they had, you know, all of those key elements. They identified the problem, they did research and data collection, they found out how to actually put together a plan, and then they executed that plan, and it had success. And here we are, grown-ups, still trying to do this.
Well, and one of the students that won the award was my summer intern.
Yes,
this year.
so, you know, it shows that, yeah, we shouldn't wait for the elementary to get to high school. The high school kids had this project at Kimball. It should be duplicated around all campuses. They took on that project, and they made it happen, and it made success. It was very successful. So I'm just like, I say, let the kids take it on. Yeah. Let the kids take it on and duplicate it again, because it shows us they're very capable of taking on a project and leading and coming up with a good solution and showing it works. So I applaud the kids because they did a fabulous job, and I can't wait until next birthday to see what project they're gonna tackle. I wanna also just share, we have cards up here on the table. You're all welcome to take them. You can tape it onto your bins at home. You can put it on your refrigerator. We have magnets that you can take with you. You know, have them all over the place so you can keep focusing on what goes in each bin and putting the right stuff and being a smart sorter. Any other questions?
Yeah, a couple of questions. You touched on coffee grounds, and I had heard that I couldn't put filters in the organic bin, but I saw on the slide that it says I can put filters in the organic bin. Is that correct? So coffee and coffee filters can both get.
Coffee filters, yes, yes.
Okay. I produce a lot. Everybody says. Sorry, it's not just me at home. I do myself at home produce a lot, but not that much. Then is there any, like, when I approach it from a business perspective, like sorting, right? That's pretty daunting. And there's 18,000 other plastics. I can't run away from all of them. So is there any in-depth resources as to what you at Delta can process? So for instance, CPLA and PLA plastics, like where do we put those? And if you don't have a resource, is there like someone I can work with, say, hey, here's a list, here's a link to each product, where do we put this?
Yeah, you can email me, cause that's my job, compliance. But also on our website, we do have like a longer list of things for each bin. So if there's something specific that's not on that list on our website, then you can contact me.
Okay, yeah, the list has been helpful. It can be a little generalized where, you know, I have however many hundreds of products and it's, okay, but for the forks, right, they're CPLA plastic, but the cups are PLA plastic. So for me, I'm just using this as an example. Like, maybe I missed it, but I didn't see that on the site.
Yeah, like forks, like, one-time use forks, those are not recyclable. Those would have to go in your trash.
Regardless of the material that they're made out of, right? Okay, so, unless it's like wood. And those are kind of the questions that I would hope to get answered.
So there is a web.
And bamboo, only by bamboo.
There is a web-based program that Tracy Disposal is working on, Jennifer is working on it, and we're gonna piggyback off of that with the city. It's called Waste Wizard, to where you can enter in or type in a certain item and it'll pop up specific to City of Tracy, which container to put it into. We have the ability to add items, adjust items, so if we get questions like specific plastics or a cup or what have you, we can always add that in, so that way, if somebody else has that specific question, then it'll pop up whenever it's put into the search bar. Hasn't gone live yet, it's getting close, but that is coming.
And for my biggest concern is like I can learn this, right? But it's from my own personal experience. When California first started this, I went to a Chipotle and had 3 bins, and I'm like, I got frustrated after 2 minutes of trying to figure out, and it just went in the waste bin, right?
Yeah.
And that's, I think, the biggest issue we're gonna have is it's the people who come into our places. You know, my whole staff might know how to sort, but then how do I make it easier for them, right?
So one of the suggestions that I actually had, for the school district was put pictures of what you actually have on each of the containers, so that way the kids will know, okay, well, I have the food holder, that goes in this one because there's a picture of it.
Yeah.
So each individual business can do that as well, and to make it easier for their customers.
That's a great idea, the actual picture, not the general
Exactly.
picture that comes with the bin or whatever.
Yep, so they see what's in their hand and they know exactly where to put it.
I'm actually really happy to hear about that. You said it's launching soon, so that's actually really great to hear. But I was just thinking about, I don't remember what the name of the numbers are whenever you see the recycle code, right? But like, I just remember that 1 and 2 is usually, like, you just tell somebody to recycle something and have 1 or 2 on it, you pretty much can just know what to do with it pretty much automatically. If it goes after 2, then you have to start getting into details like that. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Cause that's something you can tell kids easy.
Right.
1, 2.
Yeah.
You know?
And the city is also in association with the Waste Wizard. We're gonna have a recycle gate on our website as well, so people can go in, they, like, random items will pop up, they have to individually sort, and then at the end of each level, they'll get a certificate, and they like build a city park. So like a virtual park, so that way it'll be more interactive with the kids and hopefully be funner for them to get them more interested in it.
Sounds great.
So you guys, before everybody speaks out, can you just, tell everyone your contacts, your emails that people can reach you if they have more questions or whatever?
Yes, I have business cards too, but, for me, it's Connie, CONNIE, Lopes, LOPES, at cityoftracy.org.
My name is Annalisa, ANNALISA, at TDSWN.com.
And mine's Melissa R, so it's MELISSAR at TDSWN.com.
I I'm so glad to hear about all the programs we're getting in place to take care of kind of the waste system as it is and diverting edible food into places where we can actually use that food. I'm wondering for other types of waste, I think about this a lot at restaurants and the use of plastics there where there's other alternatives that are either biodegradable or whatever have you for any business in the city. Does Tracy Delta or does the city feel that they have a role in helping businesses decide whether or what to switch to get away from petroleum-based products and into other more sustainable resources, or is that not something that you all feel is in your scope?
So for the city, eventually my extra position that I am fantasizing about, when they go out to different businesses, that could be something that they talk to the business owners or the managers about options for different materials. The unfortunate side is because they're not widely produced right now, it's not cost efficient for a lot of businesses. So that's kind of the barrier that a lot of them have, especially the small mom and pop shops.
I think maybe 2 to 3 times price.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's hard to eat.
Yeah, well, even as a city, when I look at different products for offices or even my giveaways and all that, it's a lot of stuff that has the recyclable material in it is way more expensive than the stuff that doesn't, unfortunately.
Does the city have any, future, targets of shifting to a 3-bin system for our outdoor, bins currently? So like on our downtown area, farmers market and whatnot, switching to a 3-bin system?
Eventually.
So I mean, has there been any discussion on, looking at that, I know that's been one of our biggest, hurdles with businesses is, there is a cost factor involved.
Right.
We're actually going after some grant money right now to see if we can help small businesses secure bins. But yeah, they are expensive because you do want to get ones that have good labeling and whatnot. But yeah, just watching farmers market and, into that Saturday afternoon, they're all overflowing and half of it's plastics.
Yeah.
And it's all just going right in the ground.
There has been discussion of it the last time I did meet with Tika. That was brought up, as well as purchasing more of the big belly units. So those are the big metal ones that are the dual units of garbage and recycling. We have 3 of them downtown right now. I have grant funding to where I can purchase more, but they haven't really gotten back to me. So it's just a matter of following up with them. And farmers market, because it's so fluid, it's not always easy to have the 3-container system out there. I know that they have temporary, like boxes and stuff that they use for garbages that people are used to just throwing stuff into, or sometimes each of the vendors individually will have like a bucket or their own garbage can out. So it's eventually. I know that that's my answer for a lot, but eventually we'll get there.
You just have to build your capacity.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes.
Anyone else? Well, I just really thank all of you for coming and sharing, a lot of information and being able to, inform more people on how to, do this in a much more smarter way. And do use us as your resource, because we are an educational advocacy nonprofit. And, this is what we want to do, is provide educational material on environmental issues and topics to the community so that they can make better choices. And we have a newsletter, so if you have things that you feel is newsworthy to go out to the community, share with us, we'll put it in our newsletter, it goes out, and we can definitely keep people more informed. And yeah, it's all about collaborating.
Well, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
that,